And if you misrepresent what their actual motivation is, they get to dismiss you immediately. In the same way that when Jordan Peterson or somebody tells me that I don't actually not believe a God exists, I get to dismiss them.
Hey everybody, I'm Adam, and this is Think Club. I want to give another shout out to the Pangburn Philosophy channel. They have a bunch of great content that they publish unlisted for their patrons, and they've been nice enough to give me permission to use clips and do commentary on. I just want to give a shout out to them. A lot of people say that, you can use clips and it's fair use in that, but YouTube is really cracking down on clip channels. I'm not sure the fair use argument is going to hold up forever, and theoretically the content that we're making is forever. So with that out of the way, there's this great discussion between Douglas Murray and Matt Dillahunty where they spend a lot of time discussing Matt Dillahunty's exchange with Jordan Peterson, and I feel like Douglas Murray is really trying to mediate between these two personalities. So this clip was very interesting because Matt Dillahunty makes this declaration that if people basically strawman you, if they misinterpret your position, if they misrepresent your position, then you are allowed to dismiss them, that you can take their argument and just throw it in the garbage, basically, which is a very interesting declaration for him to make, since right after he makes this declaration, he goes on to mischaracterize Jordan Peterson's position. So effectively, he is saying that if you strawman my position, I can dismiss you, and then goes on to strawman Jordan Peterson's position, and theoretically this would allow Jordan Peterson to dismiss him, which is effectively what has happened. Jordan Peterson has dismissed him. Now, I don't think Jordan Peterson has dismissed Matt Dillahunty because he doesn't understand Jordan Peterson's position. I mean, there is a little bit of that, because it's impossible to have a productive conversation with someone who can't really understand your position. But one of the reasons why this whole debate interests me, and just political debates in general interest me, is because we're getting to the point where people are forming these tribes that are actually incapable of understanding one another. Matt Dillahunty believes that Jordan Peterson, just conceptualizing God in this different way and saying that Matt Dillahunty serves a God, whether or not he wants to admit it or not, and that God is not the bearded man in the sky that Matt Dillahunty likes to think all religious people worship. That God is an idea. That God is an idea, and I've conceptualized that idea, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe that the anti-theist community is working towards a shared goal, and they believe that the world would be a better place without religion, that without religion, people would be more rational, less homophobic. There's all these pluses that they see in their mind, less bound by authority, unearned authority, less likely to believe in supernatural myths or beings or ghosts or a whole list of supernatural beliefs they believe are bundled in with religion. So, and I don't think that's true. And a lot of times if you press them on this, they'll back up and say, okay, really humanity is not going to change at all if we get rid of religion. But they still are actively pursuing this idea of erasing religion, of getting rid of religion. So there's a little bit of a contradiction there, I believe, because if your actions are focused on getting rid of religion, if your actions are focused on erasing religion or minimalizing religion or whatever it is, it would follow that you have to believe that there is going to be some enormous benefit from this action. If your goal is to erase racism, you would believe that there is some benefit to the world being less racist. And I believe that. I think there is a benefit to the world being less racist. And I think that was a worthwhile goal. We are at the point now where I'm wondering if this assault on religion and religious people is a worthwhile goal. But there is a community that is bound around this goal. This is the goal that makes the community exist. And in order to be a member of this community, the first order of business is you have to make this declaration that you do not believe in God. That's like the first hurdle to admission. So when Jordan Peterson talks about psychology and this idea that we all have some idea that drives our behavior, that motivates us, when Jonathan Haidt talks about how we all circle around sacred objects and that is how we form these teams, and those sacred objects can be ideas, they can be objects, they can be people, they can be narratives. There's all these different things that we can circle around, but it's that idea that we circle around it and that we as human beings, as a community, make that idea sacred, something that we're not going to toss aside because this is the idea that unites our community. When Jordan Peterson or Jonathan Haidt or any other individual talks about the religious experience, the religious psychology in this way, and Jordan Peterson even takes it a step further because he says this sacred thing that we circle around is effectively your God. It offends the sensibility of Matt Dillahunty and the Matt Dillahunty types. It offends Sam Harris. Sam Harris brings it up in the debates with Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris, but they can't seem to get past this idea that Jordan Peterson is just conceptualizing God in a different way. How would you, God is really the right word for it because it is the thing that is just driving you. It is even if you just say people worship Star Wars, you could say that all the time. You say people worship Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You say that in common culture. People worship video games, okay? And nobody gets up in arms about this. But as soon as you say, yeah, that thing that you worship is your God, then it throws the anti-theist into a tizzy, which is funny to me, but it shouldn't be funny. I know it. You should respect what they find sacred, okay? It's what they find sacred, okay? They don't have to respect what you find sacred, but damn it if you're going to disrespect what they find sacred. Oh God, I should just play the clip. The irony here is just thick. So this is a very, very, very short clip, but I have some more things to say about it afterwards.
My wife and some of her friends had previously said, the anti-choice people, they just want to control women's bodies, they just want to control sex, they just want to punish women for having a vagina, a uterus, sorry. And I said, don't do that. What you should do is say exactly what the truth is, which these individuals want to implement policies that would have the effect of controlling sex and making women slaves to their biology, etc. That doesn't have to be their motivation. Their motivation could be, we want to make sure that every living thing lives forever. And if you misrepresent what their actual motivation is, they get to dismiss you immediately. In the same way that when Jordan Peterson or somebody tells me that I don't actually not believe a God exists, I get to dismiss them because I know me enough to know that they're wrong about that. And so if you stop pretending you can read people's minds and stop pretending you know what their motivations are and instead talk about what they're actually doing and the consequences of those actions, I think you will get a lot farther.
So I actually agree with the sentiment that Matt Dillahunty is putting forward here, that if you claim to read people's minds, that will offend them. And offending people is not the way to engage in a constructive dialogue with those people. It is a great way to have fun with your tribe, laughing and giggling and pointing. That's always fun, but it isn't really a great way to establish dialogue. And fair enough. Matt Dillahunty says, don't claim to read their minds. You should look at their actions. You should criticize only their actions and not claim to understand their motivations. Not criticize their motivations because their motivations could actually be very different than what their actions show, which seems ironic to me. And I've already said in the intro that Matt Dillahunty mischaracterizes Jordan Peterson's position in here. He's saying that Jordan Peterson is saying that Matt Dillahunty believes in God. For all intents and purposes, Jordan Peterson is saying Matt Dillahunty believes that the world would be a better place without religion. I may be wrong about that. This may not be the thing that Jordan Peterson believes that Matt Dillahunty believes in. It's a thing that I believe Matt Dillahunty believes in. And I'm going to get in trouble here, obviously, because I'm mind reading again. But I want to play this clip from Jordan Peterson because Jordan Peterson is basically established the same exact position that Matt Dillahunty is laying out here. Matt Dillahunty is saying that we should criticize people's actions, which is very close to what Jordan Peterson is saying when he's saying that your actions are best to determine what you believe. What you believe is best characterized by an analysis of your actions.
I'm existentially oriented, which is to say that I think that what you hold to be true is best determined as a consequence of an analysis of your actions rather than as a consequence of an analysis of what you purport to believe.
So effectively what Jordan Peterson is saying here is that we are driven by our unconscious mind quite a lot. And if we really want to have a window into that unconscious mind, if we want to better understand ourselves and what motivates us, and if we want to better understand our social environment and what motivates us socially, if we want to better understand religious psychology or moral psychology, it's best to understand our motivations through an analysis of our actions, which is virtually the same exact thing that Matt Dillahunty is saying here. Granted, he's saying it in the context of we should never speak about what people claim to believe because we could, in fact, mischaracterize what they believe. But I'm not actually sure that this can be avoided because in our social environment, and Sam Harris talks about this all the time, our social policy is meant to come out of a dialogue about beliefs and motivations on both sides as just a matter of course. This is how we form our communities. Even the scientific endeavor is based on this idea of evaluating each other's beliefs and behaviors. So I'm not exactly sure that what Matt Dillahunty is advocating here is a great idea, but it is interesting. And I'm curious, a lot of the problems that we're having now is more a product of this just dismissal. If a community has this idea that we can dismiss people because they've mischaracterized our position, rather than just working towards better informing them of our position and better understanding their position, how are we supposed to get past this political and philosophical impasse if the ethic, if the general rule is really just to dismiss anyone we believe doesn't understand us? So I'm curious your thoughts on this in the comments below. This is something that I think about often as I try to engage with people. I am more open to being mischaracterized and working past that mischaracterization to better understand both other people's position and my own position, because I like to believe that my position is evolving. My ultimate goal is truth. So if I am wrong, I would enjoy being corrected. I mean, I try to cultivate an ethic of it's okay to be wrong. And I think that's an ethic that's sadly missing in our society today.
Well, first of all, if you don't have a purpose, it isn't that your life becomes neutral in a meaningless sense. It's that your life becomes characterized by unbearable suffering. Because the baseline condition of life is something like unbearable suffering.